Let's solve another problem. This seems little more interesting again. It's saying join the two arrays by ID. Okay, let's try to understand this problem. So basically, I see a function array1 and array2, and I have to join these two arrays to form a single array with the help of the IDs. Okay, let's see further. Joined array is an array formed by merging array1 and array2 based on their ID keys. It means that the arrays must have some object with some ID key. The length of the joined array should be the length of the unique values of the ID. The return array should be sorted in the ascending order based on the ID key. So the return array should also be sorted. Okay. If a given ID exists in one array but not the other, the single object with that ID should be included in the result array without modification. If the two objects share an ID, this is important, their properties should be merged into a single object. How? If a key only exists in one object, that single key value pair should be included on the object. If the key is included in both the object, the value in the object from ARR2 should override from the value from the ARR1. Got it. So now let's try to see this whole thing with the help of an example. Okay, so let's say that I have a input array1, I have a array2. If I have to go and merge, I have this ID1, I have ID2, this is ID3. All are different, so I get a single array with all these objects. Perfect, very simple. Now in the second, if I go and see, I have an array with ID1 x equal to y equals to 3, ID2 x is equal to 3, y equals to 6. Array2 have the ID2, so these two are common and ID3 is different. Now ID1 nothing, so ID1 remain as it is. Now this and this, x value is here, x, so x value should be divided by the second one, so x value should be 10, y value has to be overridden, so y value has to be 2. This is done. And the third one is the ID3 x0 y3, so this should be my answer. Perfect. Let's see the third one. I have the array1 which is ID1 B, V, Y, and then I have array 2 ID1 B, V. So I see the B and V is here, V and V is here. If it is the case, then I'll take ID1. B should be this one, so this value is here. V should be this, so this value should be there. Since Y is not present, so I have Y equals to 48. Right? So this is my final output that I go and have. Let's try to go and write the code and see how does the solution looks like. So what I need to do here is that let me go and write const map equals to new map. Fair, and then I go in this for, and I go inside a const x in x of array1 map dot set, and I go inside that x dot id comma object dot assign comma x, and I go inside for const x of array2, and I go inside that map dot set x dot id comma object dot assign, and I go to map dot get x dot id Now, if you're feeling little overwhelmed with the syntax that I'm writing, it's the time for you to go and do the JavaScript well. I'm planning to upload the JavaScript content from the basic to the advanced, which includes all these topics very soon. So please stay tuned on my YouTube channels to get the best quality, be the top 1% techies in JavaScript on my channel, right? So this I go and write it, and then I move and write return, and I go and do this map dot values, and then I go and do this sort a comma b, because it has to be sorted, right? And then I go and pass a dot id minus b dot id, right? So again, I am repeating what I have tried to do here is that I've just done the function array1. I first go and create a map. Then what I go and do, I go and set that map dot set for each id. I go and assign this value here. Similarly, for the array2, for each id, if that id is present, I go and do this. Otherwise, go and assign the value this. and then I go and get the value. I go and sort it. This is typo here. Let me go and sort this out. Let's go and run this and see if it works. So this is accepted. Case 1, case 2, case 3, all of them are working. Let's go and run this and see if it works. Let's go and submit this. Okay, so I've beaten 11.6% people here, and this works fine. Cool. Let's stop this. Let's solve another problem, which is flattened deeply nested array. Again, I'm telling you, when you are watching this video, please try to do it yourself. So pause this video, try to solve this problem yourself if you are willing to learn something, right? Because only when you solve it, even if you're not able to, if you have given the thoughts, when you watch this video, it will get in your mind much better. So I'll suggest you people pause this video and try it yourself. Cool. Now let's move on and see what this question is. It says that flattened deeply nested array. Okay. Given a multi-dimensional array and a depth n, return a flattened version of that array. So basically this is a function, this is a multi-dimensional array, and this n is the level, the depth. A multi-dimensional array is a recursive data structure that contains integers or other multi-dimensional arrays, fair enough. A flattened array is a version of that array with some or all of the subarrays removed and replaced with the actual elements in that subarray. This flattening operation should only be done if the current depth of the string is less than n. The depth of the element in the first array are considered to be 0. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. Let's try to understand this. So let's say that I have a input array, which is the multi-nested array, right? Inside this array, then this, inside this is another, like this. And n is equals to 0. Since the label is n is equals to 0 itself, I don't do any changes and I go and print it as it is. Fair. Now let's try to move further here. In this array, this is at the level 0, this is at the level 1, this is at the level 1, this is at the level 2, this is at the level 1, and this is at the level 1, right? I have to go till the level 1, right? So if I have to go to the level 1, I get 1, 2, 3, fair enough, 4, 5, 6 here, done, 7, 8, done, and this, it is a level 2, so this all thing comes up here itself like a array itself, right? Then 12, 13, 14, 15, cool, great. Let's see another problem, move further. I have to go till the level 2. Now this is level 1, this is level 1, this is level 1, this is level 2, and this is level 0. Right, so this is level 1, it's less than 2, so 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is also level 2, so it also comes out, and then 12, and then 13, 14, 15 is also the level, what is this? This is the level 1, so this is 13, 14, 15, so everything comes flat. So this is how I have to go and flat a nested array. Right, now since we have understood what the problem is, let's try to go and write the code for it. So what I go and do here is, let's first of all write the base condition. The base condition is that if n is equals to 0, if n value is equals to 0, in that case I don't have to do anything, I just go and return array. Cool. If that is not the case, let's go and create an output array which looks something like this, and then I go and say that array for each element, and I go and say that if array dot is array, and I go and pass element, I go and say that output dot push, and then I go and pass dot flat element is 1, else output dot push, and I should go and pass the element here. and then finally I should go and return output. Let's try to go and run this and see if it works. All the test cases are passing. Let's go and submit this and see if that works. Okay, so my solution is accepted. Let's try to move on. Okay, now let's try to solve this problem called as the compact object. Given an object of or an array, return a compact object. Okay, what is the meaning of the compact object? A compact object is same as the original object except with the keys containing falsy values removed. It means that in an object, if there are keys whose value is eventually boolean false or it's a falsy value, it has to be removed. In the case of the objects, this operation applies to the objects and any nested objects. Okay, arrays are considered objects where the indices are the keys. A value is considered falsy when boolean value returns false. You may assume the object is the output of JSON.parse, otherwise it is valid JSON. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. So if I see here, this is my input object. This is an array. So this is falsy, this is falsy, this is falsy. All of that has to be true, so only one should be left. Okay, perfectly fine. In this, this value is falsy, this should be removed, this should be removed, so I should only have the B1. Fair enough. In this has to be removed, this has to be removed, this has to be here. 0 has to be removed, this has to be removed, so it is 5 empty array and then 16. Fair enough. So now since we have understood the logic, let's try to write the code and solve this problem. Okay, this is going to be a little tricky. Let's try to solve this. So first of all, let's go and write the base case. So if I go and say that if slash boolean and I go and say that obj, then I should go and return undefined. Fair. Now let's try to see if the type of the object, if type of obj not equals to object. If the type of the object is not equals to object, in that case I should not do anything, so I should go and return obj directly without doing much. Now if the object is array, if array dot is array obj, if it is array, then what I need to do is that I go and say that const output equals to obj dot map, and then inside this I take each of the item and then I go and pass the function called as a compact object item. And then I should go and return output dot filter item undefined. In the case if it is an array, if for const key in obj, I go and write that const item equals to obj key, right? We have taken this item, and then what I go to the const result equals to compact object item. If result not equals to undefined, then what I do, output key equals to result. Turn output. Since I have to go recursively inside, so that's why I'm making use of the recursion here, right? Let's try to go through the code again. So what I have written here is compact object. I've taken the object. If the object itself is falsy, then I go and return the undefined. Otherwise, if the object is not equals to object, then I return the object itself. I don't make any changes into that, right? And then further what I do is that I go and check if it is an array. If I go and check it the array, for each of the items in the array, I go and call this compact object items, and then I go and create this output array. And this output array, all the items which are undefined, I just go and filter it out. In the case if it is a object, right, again what I do, I go through all the keys in the object. I go and find the item corresponding to that key, and then go and check if that is a falsy value recursively, so that if it is an object inside, then it could be taken care of. And then I go and set the value as the result here, right? So let's try to run this and see if it works. Okay, all the test cases are passing. Let's try to submit this and see if the solution is accepted or not. Okay, my solution is also accepted. Perfect. I have it in 20.56% of the people. Awesome. So we have solved already 27 question. Let's move to the 28th question now. Now we have come to this next question, which is event emitter, right? So typically this question says that we have to go and design an event emitter class, and this interface is similar but with some differences to the one found in Node.js or the event target interface of the DOM. The event emitter should allow for subscribing to events and emitting them. So typically the publisher subscriber model, which is the base for all the messaging queue that you see in the market. Similar concept will be used here in this event emitter class, and this event emitter class, if I go and talk about this, this is already the part of Node.js, right? Or it is also part of the event target interface of the DOM, very much similar to that. Now it is trying to say that we have to go and create an event emitter class. As you can see here in my code section, already this placeholder code for the event emitter has been given. And inside this, we have to go and implement few methods, right? What are those methods? We have a method called as subscribe, and we have a method called as an emit. These two methods I have to go and implement. Let's read through this, that what has to be done inside the subscribe. Subscribe method is saying that this method takes in two arguments. Okay, it takes two arguments: the name of an event as a string and a callback function. So this function will take two arguments. First is the name of the event in the form of a string, and the second is a callback function. This callback function will later be called when the event is emitted. Okay, so every time that event is emitted, this callback function will be called. Okay, an event should be able to have multiple listeners for the same event. This is an important line. So one event, which is denoted by the event name, can have the multiple listeners. When emitting an event with multiple callbacks, each should be called in the order in which they were subscribed. So every event has been attached with the callback function, and each event can have the multiple callback functions attached to it, right? So every time that event is emitted, all these callback function has to be executed, and that should be in the order in which it got added or subscribed to that given event, right? That's how it is trying to say. An array of the results, and whatever the result, then array of the results should be returned. You can assume no callback paths to subscribe are referentially identical. Okay. The subscribe method should also return an object with an unsubscribe method. So this subscribe method, whenever it is called, it should also return an object with a key unsubscribe method that enable the user to unsubscribe. Okay. When it is called, the callback should be removed from the list of the subscriptions, and undefined should be returned. Okay, when it is called, the callback should be removed from the list of the subscription, and undefined should be returned. This is what it is. Okay, so this is the whole feature list of the subscribe. I request you people that please pause the video, open the LeetCode, try to solve this problem yourself, and if not, then you just follow along. The next one is the emit function. The emit function says that this method takes two arguments. One is the name of an event, and an optional array of argument that will be passed to the callback. So the emit has two things. One is a mandatory, that which name of the event that you want to emit, and certain events will have the callback function that will expect you to pass them certain arguments. So those arguments will be passed as an optional array, as a second optional argument to this emit function. If there are no callbacks subscribed to the given event, return an empty array, otherwise return an array of the result of all the callbacks in the order they were subscribed. So every time an emit method is called for a given event, if any callback has been subscribed to that event, what you do is that you call all those callback functions, whatever that result, store that into an array and then return it. If not, then return an empty array. Fair enough, cool. I think this looks pretty straight. Let's try to see with the help of an example. So let's say that one of the example is, my actions are, first of all, event emitter class is created, then you emit an event, then you subscribe, then you again subscribe, and then you again emit. Okay, and these are the values which will be passed, right? So it's empty array, then first event callback function, first event callback function, first event, right? What should be the output? So as soon as I go and create a event emitter, right? First of all, event emitter action is happening. So first of all, what is happening? One emitter object has got created. After that, I have to emit something, right? So I'm saying event emitter, that emitter object dot emit, and that I go and pass here what? The first event, right? The first event is what I'm trying to go and emit. Since there's no callback associated with it, so the empty array is passed. Very nice. Then I have to go and do the subscribe event, right? And I have to subscribe this first event function event. So emitter dot subscribe event name and then callback function which returns 5. So when I go and do this, this will gonna return subscribe. When I go and do this, will return the subscribe. Again, I go and do the subscribe. I go and say that emitter to subscribe first event, then another callback function. So as you can see here, for the same event, which is the first event, the multiple callbacks are getting registered. And now finally, when I go and emit this first event, for this first event, two callbacks, callback 1 and callback 2 has been registered. Callback 1 gets me a value 5, callback 2 gives me the value 6. So this will go and return me array 5 comma 6. Fair. Now let's try to move on and see the another example. Example 2, right? In the example 2, again I have action event emitter. So first of all, I go and create an event emitter. Then a function called is subscribe. And what I have to subscribe? To subscribe the first event and this callback function. So emitter dot subscribe first event and this callback function is created. And what is this callback function saying? It's saying that whatever the argument that you go and pass, you'll go and join them as a string. Then you do the emit. When I go and do the emit right now for this first event, and I pass 1, 2, 3, it will go and join 1, 2, 3 and return as a string. And after that, when I go and do the emit again, it will go and again do the same thing. I go and pass 3, 4, 6 and it is returning 3, 4, 6. So this is how it is working fine. So we have seen enough examples, we have got the gist of it. Let's try to go and implement this code. So I come to the right part of this here, and let's start solving this problem from the beginning. So there's the event class event emitter, right? So in the class event emitter, let's try to go and set some map. So for that, I go and define constructor, and then I go and call it that this dot events equals to new map, blah blah blah. So what I go, class event emitter constructor this dot events is equal to new map, and then inside this subscribe I start going writing the code for this. So first of all, I'll go and check. I go and say that if this dot events dot has, and I go and pass event, I go and say this dot events dot set, and I go and pass event comma. So if for this given object of this event emitter class, if there is no events, right, then I go and set the create this event with the right? Let me go and call this as event name. Then I go and call it as event name. Okay. And then what I go and do, I go and find the const listeners equals to this dot events dot get event name. And then what I go to the listeners dot append, or I can do the push, and I can go and pass the callback. And after I have pushed the callback, then what I go and do there, I'll have to go and return the code. So I have to go and implement this unsubscribe code as well. So this under unsubscribe, I go and say that const index equals to listeners dot index of, and then I go and say that callback if index not equals to -1, I go and say that listeners dot, and I go and say that splice index comma 1. So this is how I'm going to implement this subscribe method, which also returns an object which has an unsubscribe method, so that the users can unsubscribe it. And then I have to go and implement this emit method, right? So in that emit method, what I go and do is that if this dot events dot has event name, if that is the case, then I should go and return an empty array. And then I go into the const listeners equals to this dot events dot get event name const results for listeners results dot push, and then I go and pass listener, and then I go and pass this variable number of arguments. And once I've done that, I'll go and return the results. So what I've done two things. First of all, what I have done is that I have tried to write the code for the subscribe. In the subscribe, what I do is that first of all, I go and check in that given map of the events for this given event name if it is existing or not. If it is not existing, then I go and initialize, set a new key value pair with the event name. I go and set the empty list. And once that is done, I go and try to go and get the list of the listeners. And inside this listeners, I go and push this callback, which has to be attached to this given event name. And when I'm returning, I have to find an unsubscribe method. So this is the unsubscribe function where I go and find the index of this callback, right? And if this index is valid, it's present, it's not equals to -1, then I go and splice that index. I just take that out, okay, of that array. In the emit event, I go and check if the event is present. If it is not present, then I go and return the empty array. Otherwise, I get the listeners, and for each of the listeners, I go and execute that listener, and whatever the output of that, I'm pushing it into this results array, and then I'm returning it. Fair enough. Let's say to go and run this code and see if the test cases are passing. There is certain error. Let's try to see what is that. Listener, there's some typo. Where is that? I'm purposefully not editing it out so that we know how do we do it. Listener is not where I have written this listener. Okay, there has been a typo here. If I go and run this again, So all my cases have been accepted. If I go and run this, let's see that it's already working. I have to go and actually submit it. So I go and click on the submit. This has been accepted. So let's move to the next question and see what the next problem is. So let's try to read this question. So this question is about the array wrapper. It is trying to say that create a class array wrapper. Okay, I have to go and create a class called as an array wrapper. Let's try to see the code here, which is present on the right hand side of my screen. Right, so already the array wrapper class in the form of the function has been given. I have to go and create a class that creates an accept array of integer in its constructor. The class should have the two features. One, when the two instances of this class are added together with the plus operator, the resulting value is the sum of all the elements in both the arrays. So basically, a wrapper to the array has to be created, which should be able to add the contents of the two arrays, and the constructor should take one array. Okay, and when the string function is called on the instance, it will return a comma separated string surrounded by the brackets like this. So I have to create a class. It is here defined as function. So maybe I'll not use this and use, I'll create a class itself, create a class. Let's try to see a few of the examples which they have given. So input example that is shown here is that I have this number which is an array of array, and then I have operation add. So when I go and add the operation add, so first of all I go and create this array wrapper, then I create the another array wrapper, and then when I go and add op1 plus op2, it will get me the value as 10. Okay. Similarly, this is the number. When I go and run the operation string, then it gets created this, right? So these two methods I have to go and implement. Fair enough. So what I do, since I have to create the class, it is in the form of the function. Let me remove this and let me go and try to let me go and let me go and remove all this stuff, right? So I can just go and remove all these. And let me go and define a class here. Let me go and call it as class array wrapper, and then I go and say that nums equal to empty list, and then I go into the constructor, and then I go and pass name nums this dot nums equals to nums, and then I go and say value of this dot nums dot reduce, and then I go and say that current, and then I go and do this. Then I go and do the 0. And then I typically go and do this to string, and then I go and say the return. Dollar sign this dot nums dot join comma separated. Fair enough. So for doing this, what I have to go and add operation. So for that I go and find the value, this dot nums dot reduce. So wait, let's go and run this and see if it works. So all my cases are working fine. Let's try to go and submit this, and I should be able to submit it. Perfect. So this has been successfully submitted. Let's try to move to the next and the last 38th question. So the last 38th question is easy. Thank God the last question is the easy one. and it is saying that calculate with the method chaining. Design a calculator class. The class should provide the mathematical operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation. So I have to define a calculator class, and this should have following methods. If you can see on the right hand side, already there is a calculator class, and all these methods are already there. There is a constructor, there is an add method, there is subtract, there is multiply, there is divide, there is power, and then get results. It should also allow consecutive operation. It should also allow the consecutive operations to be performed using the method chaining. The calculator class constructor should accept a number which serve as the initial value of the result. So the constructor should take one number which should be the initial value of the result. Your calculator class should have the following methods. Add, this method add the given number to the result and return the updated calculator, right? So add method when applied on the calculator objects will add the value to the calculator object and then return the calculator objects. Similarly, when I go and talk about the subtract method, this should subtract the value from the value of the calculator object and then return calculator object. Multiply should multiply the value and then return the calculator object. So divide should divide by the given number and return the calculator object. The only exception here is that in the case of the divide, the past value is 0 and error division by 0 is not allowed, should be thrown. And then finally the power one. Finally the power one, which says that this method returns the result to the power of the given number value and return the updated calculator, right? And then get result, this method returns the results. Cool. So I think the method is pretty much clear. What I need to do is that go inside this and implement this functions. So I go inside here and let's try to see the code. So I scroll down. So in the constructor I have to go and accept the value, right? So first of all, let me go and define the output. So I go and say that output equals to 0 and this value, this dot output equals to value. Fair enough. And then I have to go and add the value. So I go and say that this dot output plus equals to value, and I'm going to return this. So this is the add method. For the subtract method, I should go and say that this dot output minus equals to value, and then I should go and return this, which is the calculator object. Similarly, multiply, I'll do the similar stuff. I go and say that this dot output multiply equals to value, and then I should return this. Similarly, for the divide, I'll go and say that this dot output divide equals to value, and then I go and return this. But in the divide, I'll have to go and check something. I go and check if value cannot be 0, so the value is exactly equals to 0. In that case, I should go and throw an error would say that division by 0 is not allowed. And then I go and return this. Similarly, for the power thing, I go and say that this dot output power equals to value, return this, and then finally the get result should return this dot out. This is really pretty straight. Let's try to go and run this if it works. We're going to click on this run method. Okay, the case 1 is wrong. Let's go and define this method, calculator, output. This is all right. Initial value output is 0, constructor, this dot output equals to value. This is all right. And then add value, this dot output plus equals to value, and this should return this. Now the reason it is coming as undefined is because inside the get result I'm not returning anything, right? So I have to use a keyword called as a return, and then if I go and run this, all my cases are passing now. If I go and click on the submit, hopefully it should accept all my answers. So with this I have completed all my 30 questions, right? And I had just come back to my old previous ones. So if I go back to my challenge, I see here I have submitted all these questions as you can see here. So if you have been here along with me, pat your back, you have done amazing work. It has been a long journey, right? We have solved 30 questions. Ideally it is a 30-day challenge, but we have made sure that we have solved all these 30 questions in a single setting. In the case if you had problems understanding these questions, solving this, the only reason for that is that you have not had your concepts in JavaScript very clear. I'm planning to start a free, in detail, lot of practices, one of the most detailed course on JavaScript on YouTube channels. If you are interested to join that, please put that thing into the comments, tag me over the LinkedIn that you need it, because the only motivation for me to work hard, stretch and do it is a love of yours. So I need a little support of yours. I've just started this YouTube channel. This is pretty new and I need your little support so that I'm striving hard to keep on coming with these kind of amazing content for you people. Thank you.